Did you know that most people set up the military shelter half incorrectly? Do you want to see how to set it up correctly so it's right and tight the first time? If you do, then stick around because this video is for you. For years I taught survival and outdoor leadership in the Marine Corps. Now my passion is helping you to develop the skills and techniques required for outdoor recreation. I'm Norseman and this is Survivology 101. So if you're into survival and bushcraft, then you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that canvas, leather, and wool are making a huge comeback. Now, one increasingly popular item is the military shelter half. The military shelter half was in use at least in the Marine Corps up until the mid to late 90s. I know that I've spent many nights in them. The basic design hasn't really changed much since the American Civil War, and probably many years beyond that. One of the first things we have to do is find a suitable patch of ground to pitch the tent that's relatively flat and clear of stumps and most debris. So now we need to lay out the tent, and ideally we would put down some sort of a footprint or ground cloth, but I'm not going to worry about that for the sake of this video. Just know that that's definitely a good option if you don't want to sleep on these sticks, dirt, and grass. Once you have the footprint laid out nice and square, and you have exactly one tent pole section overlap where it's folded, the next step is to drop a pin at about this level, eyelet to eyelet, between the 2 points, and centered on that V. Now this pin might take a little bit of adjustment, but it's not going to take much if it's in the right spot right there. So now that we have this pin in, we take our pole section, retrieve the one from here, and stand it up. These two should fit right over here. Clove hitch your guy line directly to it. Now, depending on which side of the tent you're going to sleep on, you might want to change the order in which they're tied to the pin, but for now we'll just leave it just like that and go do the other side. With this side we follow the exact same process. Put our poles together, retrieve the middle one, stand it up. Once again, these two anchor points should reach that pin, and then we clove hitch our gar lines. Now we got the basic structure set up. It's all right, it's all tight, and the footprint is exactly where we want it to be in the area that we cleaned up. If you set it up the other way where you put the poles in and then adjust the corners, it always tends to shift and move, and it doesn't end up exactly where you cleared out or want it to be. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to snap these sections. This is going to be the back of my tent. So I'm going to snap these sections together right over the top of the guy line. I'm making sure that I keep the guy line in between the two snaps. So now I've decided that this is going to be the front of my setup, and this is going to be my door flap. So I'm going to want this one to stay up the whole time. So all I'm going to do is rearrange the order of the pieces on the pin. And now I have my door flap. And the tent is set up and good to go. So now notice, even with the door flap untied and loose, the tent itself is nice and tight, sturdy, and this is without any adjustments whatsoever. Now if I want to, I can go around and I can pull a pin here and there and tighten everything up, but it's pretty tight. It's pretty good the way that it is. Now having it set up wrinkle-free and taut is essential to making it as waterproof as possible. It's canvas and it will soak in water, and on the inside, if you touch the inside of the tent, then it will drip water where it was touched. Now there are other options. You can also put a tarp over this to increase the waterproofing, and you can also put a bug net over the top to limit the amount of flying critters that get in from the outside. So now this military bug net is a great option for sleeping in the tent in the summertime or where bugs and black flies are pretty heavy. It'll really do a good job to keep them out of the inside of the tent. Now it has these straps, and the reason is because this is more effective if you build an actual A-frame type frame to hold the bug net up and off of the canvas. But in a pinch, draping it like this, staking it down in the corners, and you'll be just fine.
Hey darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car.
Well, I hope you see that the military shelter half is a pretty bomber shelter to have. They're getting harder and harder to find, but I think there's still probably enough of them out there that you shouldn't have too much trouble getting your hands on one under 30 to 50 bucks. I've slept in this shelter in just about every weather condition on the planet, and it's always worked for me. It's always held up, and I've never had any real complaints about it, other than the obvious weight issue going with full canvas. There's definitely an old classic camping style to it, so there's a lot of nostalgia. And if you like the leather bedroll wraps that I used, I'll put a video link right here for that. Go check that out, and then if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I thank you for being here. I appreciate it very, very much, and I'll see you on the next one.